Deutsche Telekom's T-Mobile unit may be sold to Sprint Nextel. Jeff McCracken is the Bloomberg reporter who broke this story for us. And Jeff, so glad you could come on short notice. And as we've been talking about, it sounds as if the valuation, right, that's the sticking point. So what's going on there?
Right, and these guys have actually held talks in the past. I think it's worth noting, and that happens a lot in big deals like this. There'll be conversations, they'll fall through, there'll be conversations, they fall through, and finally the two sides come to an agreement on whatever the sticking point was. In the case here, it is the value of T-Mobile. And it's a bit tough to value because it's almost like, I think if I called it a melting ice cube, I'd be overstating it, but they are losing customers at a time others are gaining. They missed out on Apple. They've been really slow on rolling out 3G. They lost like 55,000 customers last year at a time that AT&T and Verizon and even Sprint are all adding people. So yeah, that is the sticking point because the value of that will determine how much Deutsche Telekom would own in the merged companies. If a higher value of T-Mobile gets them north of the 50% threshold, which they would probably prefer to be, a lower value obviously puts them at a lower ownership stake in the combined companies.
Okay, so given that then, is there any sense that you're getting from your reporting that they will eventually come together?
I think there's a good chance. Both parties, both Sprint and Deutsche Telekom, have kind of fallback contingency plans. In the case of T-Mobile and Deutsche Telekom, they've been talking to Clearwire about buying some of their spectrum.
Right.
And in the case of Sprint, they've been talking with a group that Phil Falcone has started. This it's like a wireless startup called Foursquared, I believe, that's trying to start 4G. So they both have plans they could fall back on. But for the time being, they've halted those plans, or they've put a pause button on those plans as they work on this bigger deal. Big deals like this are always tough to get together, and this one again is complicated because of the value of T-Mobile. But I think there's a chance that we could see this get done, and it would be a really big deal.
Do we have any idea of price? I mean, how much this could be worth?
No, not offhand.
Not offhand.
Again, because it gets back to the value of T-Mobile.
Okay.
Sprint,
Which
I think,
is very difficult.
Right, and Sprint's market cap somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 billion. So if Deutsche came out with, say, a 50% stake, then you're looking at a $6.5–7 billion deal, hypothetically.
Jeff, what's the possibility that other bidders could come in?
I think it's unlikely. You know, this deal makes a lot of sense, and in the end, that's why sometimes these deals simply do get done. You've got the number 3 and you've got the number 4. Both of them really have been losing relevance to AT&T and Verizon. So I think they can get through any antitrust hurdles, and I think it's just one of those deals that makes a lot of sense if they can get past that key issue of valuation.
Right, the price then. Jeff,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you bringing this story for us. That was Jeff McCracken of Bloomberg News.